It's 2 o'clock in Central Europe. From AP, UPI, and the major American networks, the news is next on AFN.
Good afternoon, PFC Ron Bruschi, AFN News. Richard Stone gets a first-hand look at what's happening in Central America today, and he's now in a position to push for changes. Stone was sworn in yesterday as U.S. envoy to Central America, with Secretary of State Schultz praising the former Florida senator as a man of great skill and energy. Stone's trip follows a warning from the leftist Salvadoran group that claims responsibility for the murder of Lieutenant Commander Albert Schaufelberg May 25th. The rebels say more American advisors will die until all of them are forced to leave. West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl will be visiting Moscow in July, and AP's Candy Crowley reports the United States does not want to give the impression that Kohl is acting as an intermediary source for a U.S.-Soviet summit.
West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl favors a summit between President Reagan and Soviet leader Yuri Andropov. Kohl is going to Moscow soon for his own meeting with Andropov. The Chancellor and President Reagan discussed that meeting while the two were in Williamsburg for the weekend summit of industrialized nations. Though all these factors seem to add up to Kohl as middleman for a summit, Presidential Counselor Ed Meese denies that. But Meese admits the U.S. will be interested in any tidbits Kohl picks up while in Moscow.
If he comes back with any interesting information, we'll be glad to hear it.
Meese added President Reagan will decide when and if a summit with Andropov is appropriate, and he will base that decision on U.S. contacts with the Soviet Union. Candy Crowley, AP Network News at the White House.
This is AFN Radio News. A U.S. military official says Vietnam has promised to hand over the remains of 11 or 12 American servicemen this week. They were killed in the Vietnam War. Palestine Liberation Organization Chief Yasser Arafat is facing a mutiny within his ranks, and there was an indication of the rebellion's strength yesterday. A senior official of Arafat's Fatah guerrillas says he and more than 24 commanders are now opposed to the PLO leader. The mutineers say only armed struggle, not negotiation, can create a Palestinian homeland. The U.S. Geological Survey says Utah's Great Salt Lake is at its highest level since 1924. Utah Governor Scott Matheson says an outpouring of volunteer labor has enabled Utah to cope with the current rash of floods and mudslides. Associated Press correspondent Bob Moon reports on the mudslide situation in the hard-hit town of Bountiful.
Tense vigil is far from over for the people who live here in Bountiful, just north of Salt Lake City. The water is still running high as volunteers and officials keep a close eye on levees along several streams. They're also watching the canyons above the city, where there's still a heavy snow cover and the risk of mudslides causing sudden surges of water. As hundreds of people gather to clean up after Tuesday night's devastating flash flood, residents like Art Roberts are looking at the positive side.
That's the thing about this community. Everybody works together, and that's why I'll stay.
With knee-deep mud covering everything for miles, the people of this northern Utah community will be working together for days to come. Bob Moon, AP Network News, Bountiful, Utah.
They're rebuilding in Kalinga, California, a month after a devastating earthquake rumbled through the area. But there are still problems. As many as 150 families are still camping out in their yards, and insurance and government aid hasn't been enough. The mayor says simply, everybody's going to lose something. A federal safety official says it took a Republic Airlines crew nearly an hour to realize that their plane didn't have enough fuel to reach its destination Saturday. The plane headed from Fresno, California to Phoenix made an emergency landing at an Air Force base near Phoenix, Arizona. The National Transportation Safety Board says the jet with 81 passengers on board had less than 5 gallons of fuel left. An official says a fuel gauge may not have been working. The cruise missile has flopped at its only 2 test flights since it was added to the arsenal of the Strategic Air Command. And according to an Omaha newspaper, the World Herald, that's prompted the Air Force to suspend any more tests until it figures out what's wrong with that missile. There is no trading of currency on Frankfurt markets today because of a German holiday. Through Friday at military money outlets, your dollar buys 2 marks 52. AFN News is compiled from major networks, wire services, and public affairs offices. PFC Ron Bruschi reporting.